All right. What's up, Marty? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Beautiful day.
Yeah, it was, right? It
I got a
didn't
little golf in.
you did go out?
Yeah, I played yesterday and today, and we're playing again tomorrow.
Nice. I was invited to go play today, but when I woke up it was like windy, kind of, sleety. And then
It was terrible.
yeah.
It was 30-mile-an-hour winds, but we were still playing, so it was a good time.
Oh, so you even went out early.
Yeah, we were the first group out.
Oh, the afternoon was awesome.
Yeah, and you know what? When we were getting done, the parking lot of that one was full.
I can
So that's a
imagine.
good thing. Yeah.
People getting their last bit of
Yep.
golf in.
Yep.
So how did the weekend go? Do you watch all the action after we talked on Saturday?
Yeah, I watched quite a bit of it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of good wrestling. So I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, right? The
Yeah.
All Star Meet was good. It was real good. 84-pound match was awesome. That's going to be a great match in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's a lot of good wrestling. You know what I was impressed with was the heavyweight kid, I think from Campbell University.
Yeah, yeah. You're saying the one that beat Ohio State Feldman.
Yeah, beat him like a drum.
Yeah.
Like scrambled him and everything. I was very impressed.
Yeah, and I believe that kid had lost already that year though. So,
Really?
yeah, I mean, he's maybe impressive, but you don't have him picked to get in the top 3, do you?
Not having picked to be an All American even.
Yeah, that's a
There's a couple of guys that just got like, oh my God, when Gable Stevenson's coming back now, oh, I may not be an All American.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he looked good. I mean, he
Yeah,
moved. He was
it was a good match.
scored
Yeah,
points.
especially taking out the Ohio State heavyweight.
Yeah,
He's won a few so far this year.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the All-Star. Some guys backed out. I guess at the last minute. I didn't really get to see if that
yeah.
Evan Frost, the Iowa State kid, didn't wrestle at 33, did he?
No,
Yeah, and so going to just looking ahead next week is the Iowa State Iowa dual meet.
yeah. Saturday night, I
Right,
think at 6 o'clock.
right now it's not looking so hot for Iowa State.
No, too. What's terrible is it's on Big Ten Plus, so you have to pay for that. A lot of people do to watch it. I mean, I would think it should be on the Big Ten channel, but there is football, there is basketball going on right now, so I guess But I mean, it's still gonna be a great atmosphere.
It
Yeah, I watched Iowa State wrestle this morning when I was working out. They were wrestling Navy.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they get all their guys back, they're gonna be all right.
but that's the question: will they get their guys
Yeah,
back? Um, I watched a few podcasts that had some speculation on whether or not the 25 Tara Keenan would be back, or whether or not the heavyweight would be back. So it will be interesting to see how that whole plays
I think
out.
they, I
They're
think
going to
heavyweight.
want to compete in some capacity, so they're gonna try.
Yeah, it's so early in the season too.
Yeah, yeah. That is the tough part, is whether it's injury related. I mean, two of their guys, I think, are actually injured,
Yeah,
maybe even three. But yeah, it's a tough time to put that duel. Somebody was mentioning how what it would look like if they dueled twice in a season.
well, they used to.
Okay, they did.
Yeah, yeah, they used
How
to go
long
home
ago?
and away. Yeah,
Yeah, refresh my memory. What year?
well, you weren't born.
Oh, okay.
It was back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm,
but just
I'll,
knowing that you could get one, a match in the beginning of the season, it would look interesting, or maybe the same, but it could be,
yeah,
drastically different.
yeah. No, there's a movie on it. I can't think of the name of it, with Gable and Jim Gibbons were both head coaches at Iowa, and how between the dual meets, how things changed, and how when they wrestled the second dual meet, the guys that got beat earlier won and stuff. It's a pretty cool movie,
Yeah.
and I would tell you the name right now, but I can't. I just watched it last year. It was awesome, and they interview all the guys.
Yeah. Well,
Guys,
was it the
like
duel?
what?
Was it the duel?
Yeah, yeah, the duel. I think
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
called the duel.
It's called the
Yeah,
duel.
it
Yeah.
is. You haven't seen it? It's good to watch. It's really good to watch.
Something
Those
like
guys are all like my age too. I mean, that was like my time period.
Yeah, it was crazy because they were mentioning like there's like 8 to 10 national champions that were on that team, or on both teams combined.
Totally, yeah, it was awesome. Yeah,
incredible duel. Well, the high school season kicks off, I think Wednesday, with a few. I mean, maybe even tomorrow, to be honest, or maybe today. Who knows? Is there a requirement as far as the first day? I think.
Yeah, I think it's that Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff
maybe
going on.
Tuesday, maybe that week, so or Monday or Tuesday you could do, but yeah. So
still some practice to go.
Yeah,
we're gonna have some of these coaches on tonight. That'll be nice to catch up. I have no information on the grant program. I obviously know of the grant program, but so far away, so I don't really
not really
get
that
out
far.
there as much. What's that?
There were times like when after I retired, we were in their regional quite a bit for a while at Grants. Yeah. But I went up to the Hononegah wrestling practice on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. How was it?
It was great. I mean, I just went up there because I like to keep everything updated on the walls. There's a lot of people that have great accolades at Hononegah High School, so I just always got to check and make sure. And we're kind of following where the guy who does some of the stuff, we're waiting for him to get done. So all the kids that all the pictures of all the guys that placed in state last year are all good, and we're just waiting for all the kids that qualified last year to have they get put out and their name gets put on a banner. But we're running out of banner space in that room. It's crazy.
What do you do after that?
What?
What do you do when you get to
we're gonna hang stuff from the pillars in the ceiling. So I mean, we're gonna have to figure out something, right? I mean, it's there's ups and downs though and stuff like that. So, but I mean, they've had a high school state qualifier in that program since like 1992 or 3. So there's a lot of state qualifiers, a lot of place winners, but practice was great. It was looking good, nice numbers, close to 50, I think, when I was counting. So yeah, no, they were running good. I mean, Tyler DeMoss and Coach Myers and those guys, they got a couple new coaches that I met, and it was looking great. It broke up into 2 groups. Some of the guys are less experienced with other guys that are very good experience. So I hung out for about 35 minutes. But yeah, I'll be going back up. Yeah, I'll go back up.
I talked to I just through text messages I talked to Coach DeMoss, and he was telling me that they're sending some of the guys and Gina to Ironman this year, so should still be an exciting first part of the duel. Hopefully, they get to. I know TJ I think is going out there. I think he said Brody Sindel gets to. Let me look at my text messages.
Probably the 2 Cassiope boys and Gina.
Yep, Rocco, Brody, Connor Diemel, TJ Silva, and Gina. I don't think Bruno, whether it's because
is he the one which one's hurt? Is he hurt?
I have not got confirmation on any injury reports. So you would have to confirm that. But if Rocco's not the one, if somebody's injured, but again, what type of injuries are we talking about too? Not really sure. How long are they going to be out for? I know a while. Yeah, I know a couple kids were injured in the end of the preseason, and so they'll be out till like January-ish. So
these are kids from other schools?
Yeah, kids from other schools. They had some surgeries, had a couple injuries, but they'll be back by the state series. So, but Ironman is a big tournament, and I think a lot of there will be a good representation of Northern Illinois wrestlers out there this year. So there'll be one to keep paying attention to. I don't know when it exactly is. I think it's December. Let's see.
That's good that Brody gets to go. He looked good in the room the other day.
Yeah.
He's
December
probably good.
December 6th, 7th, and 8th. Yeah. So Brody, he's going into his sophomore season. Brody Sindel, placed last year as a freshman at a 157-pound weight class, which is pretty
Were there
impressive.
men?
Yeah, it's not the easy thing to do. Although there was, besides Eddie Enright, they're all underclassmen that
Yeah,
were
they
in
were.
that weight class. So it is interesting how they're that tough, that young, and that heavy. So they'll be going out. So how did he look?
He looked great. I mean, the room looked good. I mean, it was good motion, good movement. Yeah, not talking through everything for a long period of time, just like telling them, hey, this, that, a little introduction, and then they're right back at it. And yeah, they did a good job.
Which is another, I mean, I was up there last year, but it's such an important thing for high school practice not to be that complicated. It takes like years of dedication for it to be like business, right now they're ranked number 2. Honolulu is ranked 2nd in the state. But when you think of like what we were talking about with the practice, it's like to be focused and business minded, you have to have kids who are motivated, kids who have had success, and that comes from years of consistent practice and stuff like that.
Yeah, the pace of a practice is very important.
Yeah,
especially with your upper level kids and your varsity, and that's what and then those other kids who are in the other groups are watching, going, "Oh my God, someday I'm going to be up there doing that," So they have something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We're looking forward to that. They start their season at the Huntley tournament.
I think it's the first time in over 30 some years they haven't wrestled on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's what you were saying last week. But I'm looking forward to this that opening tournament. I might try to get out there on that Saturday or Friday. My coach Steve Marinetti, he tends to be at that one recruiting.
Does he?
Yeah. So it's always a good, those tournaments, holiday time, kind of like what you're mentioning. You get to, there's a lot of people that connect and go catch up. So
yeah.
Speaking of which, I talked to Adam Latella not too long ago, Whitewater assistant coach, Hananiga grad. Hopefully we're going to get him back on to tell us about their season, how that's going. They have a couple local kids wrestling on.
Yeah,
on
they're
team.
a very young team this year, I saw.
Yeah. Yep, they are. But Marty, I'm going to bring on our guest.
Okay.
So. All right, Mark, what's up?
What's going on, Dalton? How are you?
I'm doing well. Mark, welcome. Introduce yourself to Marty Kaiser here and the rest of the audience.
Yeah, Mark Jolkover. I'm the head wrestling coach at Grant High School in Fox Lake, Illinois.
Great to meet you. I used to coach at Hananiga High School.
Okay, awesome. Hananiga's got a great program, great squad this year. They're kind of who everyone's chasing in Northern Illinois, it seems like.
That's true.
They've got a pretty solid lineup, and
helps when you got a lot of kids with the same last name.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, the Cassiopes are doing good stuff in Hananiga.
Pretty dang good.
Yeah, so Mark, catch us up. I didn't know, how long have you been coaching at Grant, and how old are you right now?
Yeah, so I'm 30 years old. This is my 5th year at Grant. I was an assistant coach here for 2 years, and then took over from Lenny Gradowski. Was the former head coach who took over for Ryan Geist, who's a Hall of Fame coach at Grant, and really kind of built the program up for a long time. So this is my 3rd year as the head coach here. Prior to that, I was an assistant coach at Stevenson High School, and then prior to that, I got kind of cut my teeth in coaching. I coached for a year in Michigan at Detroit Catholic Central. As a powerhouse Catholic school out there, kind of like the Montini in their heyday over here in Illinois. They're kind of like the Montini in Michigan. So cut my teeth in coaching there, and then made my way over to Grant now. And again, like I said, this is my 5th year here.
And where are you originally from?
Originally from Lincolnshire, went to Stevenson High School, and then went and wrestled at the University of Northern Iowa for Coach Schwab.
Awesome. I'm from Northeast Iowa. It's a great school.
Yeah, it's the best. Go Panthers.
I was just there this past week watching my nephew in the semifinals of the football playoffs. So
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's awesome.
Yeah, Marty should have known. He should have wore his UNI sweatshirt he got last week.
Ah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I did. I was sporting it.
The only other color I wear outside of red is purple.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, Mark, catch us up on last season. How did it go? How was the overall team record, individual success? How did it go?
Yeah, I think last year we were really, really young, and so we went with our young guys, and we had, I believe, we started 11 underclassmen, and then we had 3 juniors, so we didn't have a senior in our starting lineup, and then actually on the boys' side, we did not have a senior in our entire program, so we returned back every single boy from our program. On the girls' side, we had a pretty successful girl. The last few years, she won the state title as a junior. Took third as a senior, and then is wrestling at Wartburg right now, Ayani Jasinski. And her brother is actually a junior for us. He was a state qualifier last year, and then we had another state qualifier who ended up being in the blood round at 132 pounds, Eric Rodriguez. So we returned both those guys back that were qualifiers as sophomores. And then we had a really successful Fresh Soft State Series. So part of that, having so many underclassmen in our varsity lineup was we knew a lot of our kids could have a lot of success in the Fresh Soft State Series, which is great that Illinois runs that. And so we had, I believe, 13 kids qualify for the sectional for Fresh Soft, and then 7 kids qualify for the Fresh Soft State tournament. And then we had 1 kid end up winning the Fresh Soft State tournament. So it was a really good showing, and for a lot of our kids, something that we really put on the map is something that was important for us in our program and how we were building forward. So returning all those guys is exciting. It's been a fun first 7 or 8 days of training here. And really, we like what we're seeing. We also know that it's super early in the season and it's November, and kind of everyone seems to like what they see around this time. But I think just in ways that we can compare ourselves to ourselves, and where we were last year around this time to where we are now, we're definitely seeing a lot of growth in our kids, as far as even just the desire to be in the room and wanting to be there. And, and I think that's a program-wide culture thing right now where our kids are excited about wrestling and excited to train and excited to be at practice every day, which is always great. It makes it wrestling, which is a really tough sport, as you both know, makes it a lot easier when you want to be there.
What's your numbers like?
We have over 100 in the program for the 3rd straight year in a row. So I believe we have 99 boys and 21 girls. And then our goal really, when I took over 3 years ago, my goal was double, triple digits. So we want 100 in the youth club, 100 in the high school program. And so that's the 3rd year in a row that we've done that. So there's a lot of little kids that are in our wrestling room right now. I'm in the office that's in the room, and we've got about 80 kids in here, which is awesome. And about 15 coaches that are alumni of the high school. Being in a rich wrestling town is really great. But we've got over 100 in the youth club again, and then over 100 in the high school program.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, so going into a little bit this season, so what do you guys have early on tournament-wise that you guys are looking forward to?
Yeah, we get tested right away at the Barrington tournament, the More Pretty Men. I actually believe they're changing the name to the More Pretty Men Dunn after the late coach Tim Dunn, who's a longtime Barrington assistant coach, great coach over there. So we'll get tested right away. It's kind of honestly like a sectional tournament for us in a way, at the same gym that our sectionals held at. A lot of the same teams that are there, so it's a really competitive tournament. So it's a good gauge for us right off the bat, of, hey, where are we? And where do we want to go? And I think that it definitely helps to have that. Now, on the flip side, right, our kids got to be disciplined and manage their weight over Thanksgiving. And, it requires a little extra sacrifice, which is part of the sport. And I think at this point, our kids know the drill. So, but we get tested right away. We open up on Tuesday night, a week from today, with Prospect and Glenbrook North. So 2 really competitive programs. Prospect won the regional last year, brought home a state trophy a couple of years ago. Obviously got a great squad and a great coach, and do a nice job there. So we'll be tested right away, which is what we want. So we're not shying away from anyone, and we like the competition. And then we'll go in the next week. We have a conference duel. Then we'll wrestle Stevenson, Barrington, and Jacobs. And then the next week after that, Joliet Catholic's coming up to Fox Lake. So we look forward to that one.
Nice. That sounds like your schedule's ready to go right away.
Yeah.
JCA, you're saying Joliet Catholic's coming up for.
Yeah, they're coming up to us. I think our mindset is that a lot of people's mindset might be run away from the Catholic schools, and ours isn't. They're at the state tournament and we got to see them. So, JCA has a great program, and Coach Cumby's an awesome coach, and they've done awesome things. And, last year for us, both our kids that were at the state meet saw JCA kids in the one saw them in the first round, and another one saw them in the first round of consolation. So we're going to see those guys at the state tournament. We wrestled Marist last year, hosted them at our place, and our kids wrestled tough. And, I think a duel like that, against a really competitive program, it exposes you early, which is what we want. We want our kids to be exposed a little bit and get thrown in the fire. And then we get to see how they react, and gives us a good template of where we're going.
That's a great thing, to chase the best programs in the state.
Mitch Hancock was the head coach at Detroit Catholic Central when I was there. He still is. 10-time Michigan State champs, and Mitch always would tell the kids we're chasing losses. And if he had an undefeated kid on his team, that we were doing something wrong. And so, try to adapt that same mindset where we're chasing losses. We go up to the Cheesehead, which is an awesome tournament, and see some really tough competition there. Obviously we have the Lake County tournament, which is tough in our area. We're seeing a lot of the tough schools in our area, but then, spreading ourselves out. We'll have a dual team tournament at our place where we'll see, in the dual team tournament, we might not see everyone, but it's DeKalb, Marmion, St. Charles East, Warren, us, South Elgin, and a few others. So, like I said, we want to see the toughest competition, because that's who you're going to see down the road when it matters.
That's awesome. That's a great duel. So that's a dual tournament?
That's a dual tournament on January 11th at our place. We held it last year at our place for the first year, and it was real successful, and then got some new teams added in there this year. So 8-team dual tournament, which is great, and everyone gets 3 duels. So, you're not there for 2 days or anything like that, and you're not wrestling 6 or 7 times, 3 duels. In and out, almost like a Saturday quad, but the tournament structure of it is kind of nice. Gives you a good preview of what a Super Tuesday might look like.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one. That would be a good one to pay attention to.
Yeah,
Marty, you got anything from Mark before we let him go?
No, he's just doing the right thing. I mean, you're exactly right. You find the best teams and you wrestle them, and you don't care about the outcome, because it doesn't matter during the beginning of the season. It matters at the end. I think everything you're talking about is how you build a great program.
Yeah, and we're really lucky here at Grant, and I'm Dalton, you grew up in the era of Jimmy Kennedy, correct?
Yeah.
And Daniel Dennis and those guys. And so we're really, grateful that we've got, such great alumni and such a rich history of wrestling that dates back. I think I did, I went on and had some time during my day and counted up how many state qualifiers we have in our history. And it was 135 kids that have qualified for the state meet. I think we're at 53 state place winners, 9 state champs, and a long history of wrestling that dates back to the 1960s. And it's important to our community. It's important to our town. Like I said, our alumni come back, right behind this wall is, 10, 15 different alumni that are coaching in our youth program, from the 4 to 6 year olds all the way up to our 14-year-olds, which is awesome. And then, not many programs can say we've got alumni as the associate head coach at Oklahoma State and the head wrestling coach of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. So pretty cool figures for our kids to look up to, that grew up in the same town that they did, and that, wrestled in the same room that they did. So it's really awesome to see that, and guys that have made Olympic teams that went to this high school, and a guy that's made a world team that's went to this high school, and guys that have wrestled at the national tournament and done really great things, which is cool. And a lot of our kids in our kids club, are sons of kids that wrestled with those guys in the mid 2000s and grew up around those guys. So definitely thankful for the rich wrestling history here, and it matters at Grant, and we're just trying to honor that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Grant has obviously always been deep in history with a lot of guys. Like you said, I wrestled alongside a lot of those guys. And, Marty and I have talked a lot about Hananiga and, the fact that, there's when you walk into the wrestling room, you kind of have to want to succeed because of all of the success that's come before. And tradition, culture, it kind of is really hard to erase.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing that you're there, and it sounds like you're utilizing that. And yeah, good luck this season, and hopefully we get to chat with you throughout the season.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for doing this. Love listening and tuning in and covering great sport of wrestling as well as in our area. We got a lot of tough wrestlers that come out of this area, and it's awesome to tune in and listen to you guys. So thanks for having me on.
You got it. Good luck this year.
Thank you. We'll see you.
See ya.
Got it. I like that.
Yeah, he's pumped up, ready to go.
He is, right? Yeah. You know
Yeah,
what? He's talking about the history of the program, which is important because if you don't have a history, it's tough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great.
Yeah, and that program does have the history, and it has athletes that are very inspiring figures to look up to. And, I think that's one of the struggles with so many other programs is, if they don't have that, if they didn't have the Marty Kaiser that, came before and built a whole bunch of stories, it's hard to, you got to do it from the ground up. And it can be challenging because, it's never cool to be a part of something that's not cool. But once you're cool, everybody,
Right.
So,
yeah. That's kind of what Brad Lynn did at Hananiga, man. He made it wrestling cool.
Yeah.
People love watching him.
Yeah, that says success breeds more success. I mean,
Yep.
I think people just, I actually, thinking of an Iowa guy, I just listened to an interview with Tom Brands, and he was talking about the job of a competitor and how it's what his job is to grow wrestling is just about getting the athletes to go out there and compete as to the best of their ability, score as many points, be as enthusiastic about the sport. And I was just thinking about that and how it's totally made sense of like yeah, I mean, I don't know, that's he just made me think of being inspired to kind of like
right. I mean, like that's the kind of person you want to wrestle for.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's got the energy and he's got the history in his mind, and he's got people doing things, helping him and stuff. It's not just a one-man thing. It's the whole community, and that's what it needs to be. And a place like Fox Lake Grand is kind of like that. It's like us. It's kind of like Hananiga. We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but we're a big school, and we're in 3A, and it's just you got to build a history. And it's all started back in 1957 at Hananiga.
Yeah. They are probably very similar programs, but
yeah,
like school-wise. But 100 kids at the high school level, 100 kids at the kids club level.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I think every program, every high school program in the state and in the area, that's got to be like the goal.
Yeah, we usually started with over 100 kids, and then it would dwindle down. By the end of the year, we'd have 65, 70 still left. And our kids club was, even right now, our kids club still over 100 kids.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. But yeah, you got to you imagine how many backups you have. Like, you have to send the thing when you have a lot of kids and some people don't like it is because you got to find tournaments for them. They got to wrestle every weekend. You got to have 4 full teams, 5 full teams. So some of that's hard.
It is.
It's no fun just wrestling if you're not going to wrestle in meets and tournaments, right?
What do you mean? Say that again.
I said it's no fun being a wrestler if you're not able to wrestle in tournaments and dual meets. Like if you don't get to go travel and wrestle. If you're like a kid who's on the bottom half and doesn't get a match all the time, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard. That's why I think we need more lower level competitions, just so that because again, there's only 14 weight classes,
right.
And the younger guys, it's kind of interesting to think about when you think about the varsity and you think about the top tier of the varsity, the kids who are placing down state, winning state, competing for state titles or whatever. Mm-hmm. They don't need a tremendous amount of matches over a course of a year. I mean, matches are helpful for them.
Right.
But like they already kind of get what a wrestling match is. When the lower level kids, who've never wrestled in their entire lives,
Right.
I think 5 matches on a weekend would give them a lot of information
Oh my God.
to go back to practice with and be like, okay, now I get it, because I got whooped those 3 matches. By that half, I got to learn how to defend a half.
Right.
But they got to get pinned 3 times for them to go figure it out. So.
The thing is too, it's crazy about that is that, as the year progresses, those kids that are getting matches, all of a sudden they're going, oh my God, he's starting to look like a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's starting to know what he's doing. He's comfortable. Like he's tying his shoes, putting his headgear on the right way. You're getting things, his singlet isn't on backwards. I mean, it's just so many things. And the biggest thing is too, Dalton, you got to have other coaches that will travel with them and be with them. You got to have great lower level coaches. And that's one of the things that I was so lucky that I had, just great coaches, and get 99% of them were Hananiga guys,
Yeah.
alumni.
Yeah. It's nice if you have the ability to get people who have already been through the program. Again, going back to culture and expectation and stuff like that. If they went through it, then they know what you're supposed to be telling people to be doing. So yeah, it is definitely a lot nicer.
Yeah, he totally impressed me tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah, he seems like a perfect, energetic coach. The next guy up, I don't know if I've ever met him, but we're gonna meet him. He's here right now. Let me pull him up. All right, welcome to the podcast, Matt Todd, Hampshire head wrestling coach.
How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Well, Matt, fill us in a little bit. Introduce us to yourself and your program. How long you've been coaching there, and where you from?
Matt Todd, head wrestling coach, Hampshire High School. No one really knows where Hampshire is at. We're kind of the 3A high school out in the middle of a cornfield place. Best way I describe it to people is we're between Elgin and Rockford. That's the best way I can really put it. Or north of DeKalb, south of Huntley, and that's my best way of putting it. Been here overall, I think it's my eighth year overall, 3rd year as head coach here at Hampshire. I'm originally a Lena Winslow grad, so wrestled under Kevin Milder, coached with him for a couple of years also, so had a good mentor with him. Came here for my job, and my wife's a Hampshire grad also, so she introduced me to the land of the Whippers, and started coaching here and haven't left, and I've loved it ever since.
Great. Well, tell us about last year and how that season went, where you guys finish up, any individual success, what team success, and then how it's kind of transitioned into this next year.
We were 11-5 last year, 7-2 in the Fox Valley Conference, second place in conference behind Huntley, tied with Crystal Lake Central. Very tough conference for wrestling. Always fighting those 2A, 3A schools with your Huntleys, Crystal Lake Centrals, Crystal Lake Souths, Cary Groves, Prairie Ridges. So a good hotbed of wrestling in this area. Individual success, we had 8 sectional qualifiers. We didn't have any state qualifiers last year. We got close with our heavyweight last year, losing in the blood round, and that was one of 2 seniors that were in the starting lineup. So the rest that were in sectionals were all underclassmen, most notably mainly freshmen and sophomores. So they're coming back this year, and after some conversations with them, they found success and want to continue that success for this year.
Great. So you have some young guys coming into the lineup that were experienced from last year. Do you guys have some tournaments coming up early on in the season that you are excited about?
Yeah, so we started off our season at Sycamore with Sycamore Quad. So, first quad of the year, I get to go see Chauncey over at Sycamore for a while, so get to hang out with him. always a fun conversation with him. Then the Black Friday, that Friday, Saturday after Thanksgiving, we're at Barrington for the More Pretty Men tournament, which is I still believe one of the top tournaments in the state. You have teams from all over the Chicagoland area, even the Rockford area with Hananiga there. And then you have your Hershey's sandwiches there. So like a lot of top tier teams at the tournament with eight mats going at one time. So a lot of good competition going on right away.
Yeah, the gentleman we talked to, the coach from Grant just a minute ago, and he's headed there as well. So that looks like Marty, it's going to be a pretty tough tournament.
Oh, so, I think it's going to be a great tournament. It always is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always, multiple state champions, multiple state qualifiers. It's one of those tournaments that you do well in, that it's a good early season indicator of how the rest of the year can go. And I usually tell our guys, hey, let's see how we stack up against some of these other top teams. And always afterward, I'm like, okay, the level that we need to be at, but we need to do that every single day and get back in the practice room and work.
Yeah. Now, Matt, so, one thing that the last gentleman alluded to was, it's kind of like a sectional preview. So are you in that sectional as well?
Yes. So
okay.
Our regional is the majority of the Rockford schools. So we have Jefferson, Guilford, and then you add in Auburn, Hananiga,
Jacobs,
us, and Huntley, and that's our regional. And then out of our regional, we go into the Barrington sectional again, with a lot of those same teams that we see at the Barrington tournament, minus a few of them like Marmion, and there's probably a couple others in there that we don't see as sectionals, but it's basically a sectional preview for us also.
Yeah. I think that's a very good thing going into the season, just so you get an idea. You maybe wrestle some guys that you're not going to wrestle until that time again. So yeah, I like the idea of getting. We were just talking about Iowa versus Iowa State and what it would be like if they wrestled twice in a year. One in the beginning of the year, one in the end of the year, and that sectional tournament. I don't know if it's an advantage or a disadvantage based on the individual circumstance, but if you see somebody early on in the season, you can maybe close the gap in the second time, or you can widen the gap. I guess it could be both.
And some of the teams that are in that tournament, I think Mount Prospect's one of them over in the MSL. I have a couple of buddies that coach over there, and we talk about how they had their conference tournament at the end of the year. And I know out by you guys, the Nick 10 has their conference tournament, and you go further west and there's no conference tournament. It's whatever's based on the duels. And something in our conference, we've talked about, we used to have a conference duel or conference tournament, and they, got rid of it because some of the teams got out of the Fox Valley. And so they didn't have enough teams. Now we're like, well, we have enough teams. Why don't we have it? Well, a lot of the coaches don't want to see the same kid 3 to 4 times a season, where you could wrestle at the same tournament, the duel, conference tournament, regionals, and then even possibly sectionals too. So seeing the same kid 5 times, half the coaches are like, it's almost redundant. Like, okay, we're going to see the same thing over and over. What's the point? We want different competition all throughout the season besides just the same 6 times.
So what are your numbers like?
Well, we had 108 kids register, and we are currently, you're going to have the few that do register and don't show or quit. We are up to about 88 kids right now within our program, in both boys and girls.
That's awesome. That's great.
So, and I always tell our kids this, and some people who don't realize, when I first started here in my first year, I was 2017. So yeah, 2017, 2018. And I told them, within our program, we only had 30 kids out. And they are like, really? I'm like, yeah, we had 30 kids to start a season. By the end, we may have only had 20 that were still wrestling. And now we're up to, 80s and 90s. And a lot of them had a hard time trying to grasp, like really, why did you have that few many kids? I'm like, well, for Hampshire, we had a program back in the 80s, part of the 70s and 80s, and then it was discontinued. And then it restarted back up in 2008 when they built our new building out here. So Hampshire used to be a 1A, 2A school, small school. It was the old high school, middle school in one building. And then with our population growth, they built a new high school. And when they built a new high school, they're like, hey, let's bring back wrestling. So in 2008 is when our program really started back up. And now our numbers are starting to go up where kids are starting to see the success. And we're very fortunate that our head football coach is Shane Hack, son of Tim Hack, the former
from Harvard
head coach.
That's awesome.
So we have Tim graze our wrestling room once in a while, and he's always been kind of a good mentor that comes in, and his wealth of knowledge is almost unmatched. So it's just another resource that we're very fortunate to have that can help continue to build our program.
And I would assume that he's, encouraging football players to come out for wrestling. And
100%. Yeah. So we have the good majority of our lineup are also football players. And so we work together in unison where we encourage a lot of our football players to wrestle and a lot of our wrestlers to play football. And that's how small town Lena, you play football and you wrestle. And that's just kind of what you did. We knew it went hand in hand. And that's something I was raised to believe in, is that, the two sports are going to work hand in hand with each other. Might as well do it. If you look at Dunker, who's out at Iowa, he was a wrestler. He was a heavyweight wrestler, but now he's a starting offensive tackle at Iowa. Like, it just works well with each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you guys have a youth program that feeds into you guys, or do you have multiple places that kind of feed into Hampshire?
So our within our district, we have a middle school program in our district that usually runs a month, and our district does that purposely to get kids to try every single sport, see what they like. So we have that. Plus, in our area, we probably have 2 to 3 clubs in our area that feed into us. So we try to create relationships with all of them. The one that's close by to us is known as the Riot Room. That's the one that's kind of based in the Hampshire area that we work with. We also work with the Red Raiders Club. And who's the other one? There's a couple other ones that ISI. I know ISI is out of Elgin that we work with, that we have some kids that go there also. So multiple clubs that feed into our high school and try to continue to have them understand what it means to wrestle here.
Cool. Great. Marty, you have anything from Matt?
No. So like when, so in 2008, when they started the wrestling program back up, what was the population of the school then?
So the population then was probably, I should know this. Back in 2008, they were probably still hitting around 700, 800.
Now what are you?
About 2,000.
That's exactly how Hononegah, when I first came and started coaching there was about 700 kids in the school. Now there's over 2,000 kids in the school. We just exploded just like you guys did.
Yep. And it's funny, my neighbor is actually the mayor of Hampshire. So I always talk to him like, hey, what's developing? What's new coming in? And he says there's probably close to maybe 200 homes that are being built right now in the Hampshire area. So that's another, how many families coming in with kids.
Right.
I know our district's always talked about what are we going to do to accommodate this many kids. And I mean, within our own program, our wrestling room is not huge.
Yeah, it's not.
And with our first week of practice, having 90 kids in a wrestling room was interesting, to say the least. So we had to create a solution, be creative with it with our administration and my assistant coaches. And we're like, we have to split a practice. So, I'm still in our wrestling room now as we just finished practice a little bit ago. And so we have our young, I call it our white group, who is our kids that are, first year wrestlers, pretty fresh. They come out, they come after school. They're here, they're getting better. They're progressing. That way they get more work in one-on-one with coaches. And then afterward is our varsity, our purple group that come in, and then we just beat them up. And the kids love it. There's more space. There's more teaching opportunities for us and for the kids. And we're seeing a lot of progression from both groups after we had to make that split.
That's great.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, you got to do it. That's good when you got the numbers that cause more problems. But
yeah, I would rather have the 80, 90 kids and have that problem than the 20 and try to figure out a lineup.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming on. We look forward to the season kind of getting started. I'll probably maybe jump out to that Barrington tournament, hopefully, see how everything's going. But throughout the season, hopefully you can jump back in and tell us some details, some results of the team and stuff like that.
100%. You guys got it.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Thanks.
Come on.
Yep. We'll talk
Thank you,
soon.
guys. Appreciate you
Yeah,
having me.
good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Marty. That concludes
That was a good one.
podcast. Yeah, I thought it was good. Sounds like when I put it out to some more coaches out east, they reached out, and wow, talk about good problems to have. 100 kids, man.
Right?
What? Man.
Yeah.
See, and I don't know, obviously we were getting into the details of what's the percentage, right? So it's 2,000 kids and 100 kids come out for wrestling. What do I got to do? Do my math. Well, I guess that is that 10%. 10%. So, yeah, it's still harder to get. Yeah, you got to get more kids out.
Both those guys are energetic, though. I mean, it's just good to hear. It's good things. There's positive stuff in wrestling, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you used to go to the Nick 10 meetings and there'd be some teams that say, well, we got about 15, 20 kids, or okay.
Well, you might be able to still find that at a couple.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
programs,
even changing in the Nick 10 too. I mean, the conferences are,
yeah, things are. I do think wrestling is, again, if it's not growing, it has the potential to be largely impacted. I don't know if you were watching the combat sports world this weekend, but there were plenty of highly competitive wrestlers that were being showcased on the biggest stage with the biggest eyeballs. So I think the sport is coming into its potential for like a prime, if there is one. But
yeah, for sure.
all right,
Marty,
man. Yep, we'll talk soon.